What are the most common cases you guys are getting on a daily basis? What's a common life of a housing court attorney?
I mean, there's the non-payment cases, which, are pretty straightforward. Somebody fell behind in the rent. They owe the landlord money. There's programs out there such as the One Shot that are there to assist people who are in
That makes it possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's
work.
a lot, and they're really bogged down with the applications, and I've seen so many applications just get kicked for no reason, and I have clients that have to apply 2, 3, 4 times before they even get the application in front of somebody who's going to review it, and then there's struggles after that point too.
Yeah. And is that also defined as a holdover? Is that the same thing?
No, so that's just to take care of a non-payment case. A holdover is a for-cause eviction. So, like the nuisance cases that we were speaking about, if someone isn't a leaseholder, and that'll get us into the whole succession mess. But there's a couple different things that we see pop up pretty regularly.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to add on to what you were saying earlier with the one-shot deals, I feel like one of the biggest inefficiencies in housing court is that we have these people who are entitled or eligible for government benefits, but then the struggle of getting them those government benefits becomes an issue for the housing court attorney. So it becomes a responsibility of my role as a tenant advocate to get money for the landlord from the government. When this whole thing could have been resolved by the landlord going to the government, or the government being more proactive and helping this person get the benefit that they're entitled to, and keeping this whole case out of housing court. And it ends up with me having to take a client that I'm able to help, thank God. But still, this is something where if the city was more proactive, or if landlords were more active in trying to use government benefits instead of going straight to housing court, this case wouldn't have come here and I'd be able to help someone else.
Yeah. And that's by design.
Yeah.
That's by design, because you can't access the one-shot deals and the city FEPS programs unless you are experiencing eviction. So it almost always falls on the RTC attorneys, right, to now become not just litigators, but also social workers, and specifically trying to get benefits for our tenants to make sure that they can continue to live in their apartments. So we're doing more than just litigating. We're filing the motions, we're doing the pretrial motions, we're doing the arguments, we're taking cases to trial, and we're collaborating and working with HRA and the various city agencies to make sure that the tenants actually get the money paid out, because that's the issue 9 times out of 10.
It's happening with subsidies too. Something happens with somebody's Section 8 voucher, even on an administrative level, that causes a problem. The landlord brings the tenant into court for it. It happens with SCRE, which is the Senior Citizen Rent Increase Exemption. And it falls on us to take care of these issues that, it's really not proper for us.
Yeah.
So, not to go too much into you guys' specific jobs, but is that something that is truly handled by the individual attorney, or do you guys have social workers that absorb those responsibilities and kind of I deal with the legal stuff, and then cause I know at my agency if I need a social worker, I have to make sure that the social worker is on top of it, but I can basically focus on other things. But is it really falls on attorneys when it comes to housing court?
Yeah, my office, we don't have a social worker. I've had clients,
crazy.
yeah, so everything handling the benefit advocacy, I'm emailing HRA directly to argue about hey, I applied for this one-shot deal the first time and you declined my client. We applied for the one-shot deal the second time, you declined my client. Now we have the third application. You didn't tell me why you declined the first two, so I don't know, and this guy is still eligible, so what more do I have to give you? That's all on me, on top of all of the legal advocacy that I have to do and all of the other clients that I that my role requires that I advocate for. And I've had clients call me in straight up panic attacks, and that's just, there's no one else to hand that over to. So I'm sure you've had the same experience where you're not only just helping someone's legal issues, you're also helping them emotionally, because they're going through a freaking massive trauma.
Yeah.
And you're also helping them with their government benefits access.
And so I guess what is HRA's typical, like, to me, I've made attempts to deal with HRA during some financial struggles, and it seems like it's a black hole. Like, it seems like you apply, they run you through the ringer. I've appeared in person, which was a fucking mistake. Because they look at you like you're insane. Like, I've physically been in that building, got into a physical human being after 4 hours. You're sitting there.
We have to go in person sometimes just to pick up checks,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh my
because
God.
somebody decided that they don't want to send it to housing court or send it directly to the landlord, so it eats up, you know, resources of the attorneys who could be working on, you know,
Do you have
litigating
to, like,
the
get a
cases.
ticket number?
We get an email, you know, that such and such client was approved, and we have to, you know, print out that email, go to the HRA office in Manhattan when, you know, we're all in Queens Housing Court.
Yep.
So we have to take that trek, you know, that takes away from our day. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
absurd.
That's crazy. Yeah, okay. So it seems to me that they pass right to counsel, but in terms of like the way they treat criminal defense and the way they treat housing court, it's not the same at all. Like, they're not, you guys don't seem well funded or well supported in the way that would allow your jobs to be easy to accomplish on a day-to-day at all.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have paralegals, you know, social workers or,
Yeah. Again, it's by design. Like I said, there is no civil Gideon. Criminal defense attorneys, you have the constitutional right to a lawyer. So the system is galvanized and empowered in a particular way to meet that demand. It's a constitutional right for you to have a defense lawyer. The right to counsel is just, it's a city ordinance. They tried to make a state push this last legislative session to get the statewide right to counsel. Didn't happen, unfortunately. So ultimately speaking, it's a right.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to dismiss the fact that it's a right. But in terms of its legal prowess, it's like you can't sue someone if you didn't get your right to counsel if you qualified for it. Because in the actual bill itself, it says that you don't have a private right of action for this bill, which means that it's, for all intents and purposes, legally a privilege. It's not treated as a right. It is a right, and it should be a right, and it should be enforced that way. So then now when you have these systems, the HRAs and the so on and so forth, the one shot, it's almost like a one-shot deal.
Yep.
A one shot at a lawyer. If you come in on the right day and you speak to the right people and you just so happen to get picked up, great, right? But that's not how we should be treating a right to housing.